and directing All stand. All persons having any business before this honourable court now draw nigh. Give your attendance and you shall be heard. God save the Queen.
Please be seated.
Admission of lawyers. Sarah Noreen Anderson.
May it please the court, I move that Sarah Noreen Anderson be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Sarah Noreen Anderson be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Stephanie Angelovsky.
May it please the court, I move that my daughter Stephanie Angelovsky be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Stephanie Angelovsky be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
James Patrick Waters Bailey.
May it please the court, I move that James Patrick Waters Bailey be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let James Patrick Waters Bailey be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Jenny Chen.
May it please the court, I move that Jenny Chen be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Jenny Chen be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Ivy Chuan.
May it please the court, I move that Ivy Chuan be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Ivy Chuan be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Bianca Page Angelique Duff.
May it please the court, I move that Bianca Page Angelique Doff be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Bianca Page Angelique Doff be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Brendan Charles Edgehill.
May it please the court, I move that my son, Brendan Charles Edgehill, be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Brendan Charles Edgehill be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Catherine Ann Edmondson.
May it please the court, I move that Catherine Ann Edmondson be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Catherine Ann Edmondson be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Rebecca Stephen Lonsdale Evans.
May it please the court, I move that Rebecca Stefan Lonsdale Evans be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Rebecca Stefan Lonsdale Evans be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Ruth Facia.
May it please the court, I move that Ruth Facia be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Ruth Facia be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Isabel Laura Ann Franklin.
May it please the court, I move that Isabel Laura Ann Franklin be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Isabel Laura Ann Franklin be admitted as lawyer of this court.
Nicholas Paul Adrian Franklin.
May it please the court, I move that Nicholas Paul Adrian Franklin be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Nicholas Paul Adrian Franklin be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Zoe Kong Fu.
May it please the court, I move that my niece, Zoe Tong Fu, be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Zoe lawyer of this court.
Nolene Dilhara Balasantharan Harendran.
May it please the court, I move that Noeline Dilhara Balasantharan Harendran be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Noeline Dilahara Balasantharan Harendran be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Olivia Kate Kilponen.
May it please the court, I move that Olivia Kate Kilponen be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Olivia Kate Kilponen be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Jasmine Lay.
May it please the court, I move that Jasmine Lay be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Jasmine Lay be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Stephanie K. Shan Lee.
May it please the court, I move that Stephanie K. Shan Lee be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Stephanie K. Shan Lee be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Hannah Elizabeth Moffat.
May it please the court, I move that Hannah Elizabeth Moffat be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Hannah Elizabeth Moffat be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Tani Eloise Nagel.
May it please the court, I move that Tani Eloise Nagel be admitted as a lawyer of this most honourable court.
That Tani Eloise Nagel be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Alexandra Elena Nostovsky.
May it please the court, I move that Alexandra Elena Nestovsky be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
That Alexandra Elena Nestovsky be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Ekaterina Oglos.
May it please the court, I move that Ekaterina Oglos be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
That Ekaterina Oglos be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Jordan Peacock.
May it please the court, I move that Jordan Peacock be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
That Jordan Peacock be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Isabel Claire Barclay Pino.
May it please the court, I move that Isabel Claire Barclay Pino be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Isabel Claire Barclay Pino be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Saeed Sadi.
May it please the court, I move that Saeed Sadi be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Saeed Sadi be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Claire Yu Jung Song.
May it please the court, I move that Claire Yu Jung Song be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Claire Yu Jong Song be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Gary Nimki Wan.
May it please the court, I move that Gary Nimki Wan be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Gary Nimki Wan be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Stanley Brian Widdowson.
May it please the court, I move that Stanley Brian Widdowson be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Stanley Brian Widdowson be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Miriam Yilmaz.
May it please the court, I move that Miriam Yilmaz be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Miriam Yilmaz be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Haichu Zhu.
May it please the court, I move that Haichu Zhu be admitted as a lawyer to this honourable court.
Let Haichu Zhu be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Hugo Charles Zekat.
May it please the court, I move that Hugo Charles Zekat be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
That Hugo Charles Zekat be admitted as a lawyer of this court. It will be necessary for the purpose of an oath or affirmation that all those being admitted today please stand up and remain in your current places. Could all admittees please stand?
Sarah Noreen Anderson. Stephanie Angelovsky. James Patrick Waters Bailey. Jenny Chen. Ivy Chuan. Bianca Page Angelique Duff. Brendan Charles Edgehill. Catherine Ann Edmondson. Rebecca Stefan Lonsdale Evans. Ruth Facia. Isabel Laura Ann Franklin. Nicholas Paul Adrian Franklin. Zoe Kong Fu. Nolene Dilhara Balasantharan Harendran. Olivia Kate Kilponen. Jasmine Lay. Stephanie Kai-Shan Lee. Hannah Elizabeth Moffat. Tani Eloise Nagel. Alexandra Elena Nestovsky. Ekaterina Oglos. Jordan Peacock. Isabel Claire Barclay Pino. Saeed Sadi. Claire Yu Jung Song. Gary Nimki Wan. Stanley Brian Widdowson. Miriam Yilmaz. Haichi Zhu. Hugo Charles Zekat. Do you severally swear or declare and affirm that you will truly and honestly conduct yourselves in the practice of a lawyer of the Supreme Court of New South Wales, and that you will faithfully serve as such in the administration of the laws and usages of this state according to the best of your knowledge, skill and ability? Would you please say, "So help me God," or "I do"? I do. Would you please be seated?
Now that the formal part of the proceedings has ended, I'd like to warmly welcome you all to the Supreme Court of New South Wales. Present with me on the bench today to my right is Justice Maher, who is a member of the Court of Appeal, and on my left Justice Rain, who is a judge of the Equity Division of the Court. Together, we constitute the court that has, in the exercise of its jurisdiction, admitted you to practice. As we gather here today, I would like to begin by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which we meet, the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, and pay my respects to their elders, past, present and emerging. We recognise the long-standing and enduring customs and traditions of Australia's First Nations and acknowledge with deep regret the role our legal system has had in perpetrating many injustices against Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples. To all the new lawyers here today, welcome to the legal profession. Today is a day for celebration. You have all worked extremely hard to get here, through caffeine-fuelled nights and obscure problem questions, reading countless wafer-thin pages of textbook and many more cases than you can possibly hope to remember. Rest assured, for those with a bibliophobia, that is the fear of running out of reading material, as lawyers that will never ever happen. You have entered the world of eggshell skulls, encountered the mysterious reasonable person, and have understood the Constitution consists of so much more than the vibe of the thing. In becoming a lawyer, you have today joined a centuries-old profession with ancient origins. The custom of advocates swearing an admissions oath dates back to the 12th century. This court first admitted lawyers to practice in 1824, and by 1830 the names of lawyers were entered onto rolls in this state. You have now become part of this tradition almost 200 years later. Perhaps for some of you, and probably for your family and friends, that's how long it feels like you've been studying. On that note, I'm also pleased to welcome those here with you today or watching on the live stream. For many of you, the support of your family and friends has been invaluable. No doubt, they have also been from time to time on the receiving end of your finely polished skills of argument and persuasion. I hope you take the time to thank them today. The oath or affirmation you have made today is a serious one and deserves solemn regard. Whether you work in private practice, at the bar, in a community legal centre, or in an entirely different field, you should be known for your honesty, your integrity and your commitment to justice. It is in acknowledgement of this weighty responsibility that we observe today's unique formalities, including the moving of lawyers, swearing of oaths and making of affirmations, and even our somewhat unusual choice of fashion. I recall on one occasion some years ago, a young member of the audience asking if we were doing Santa photos after the ceremony. I was very sorry to disappoint. However, although we mark this occasion with formality and tradition, not everything in the legal profession remains unchanging. You'll be unsurprised to hear that last year we had to adapt quite a bit. COVID-19 meant a rapid shift to increased use of virtual courtroom setups and technology to ensure access to justice continued in the midst of a pandemic. Things didn't always go smoothly, as those with me on the bench can probably attest to. There have been real difficulties to grapple with in terms of open justice, effective communication and fairness to participants. And occasionally a lawyer might even get stuck behind a Zoom kitten filter. But for all the challenges we faced, the impetus is greater than ever before for us to prioritise flexibility and accessibility. Better use of technology and increased working from home arrangements have profound implications for how our legal system interacts with many people, including those in rural or remote areas, those with a disability, medical conditions or carers' responsibilities. As the newest members of the profession, you are at the forefront of innovation in the law and have a unique opportunity to see through changes so that justice is done openly and equitably. There are, of course, other changes that deserve attention. When we think of the diversity of the legal profession, we encounter the duality that we have come very far and that much still needs to be done. Though women were originally not permitted to practice, since 2018, women have made up more than half of all solicitors with a practicing certificate in New South Wales and currently make up 63% of solicitors under the age of 30. Women occupy many of the most senior positions in the law, including, of course, the Chief Justice of Australia. However, women continue to face challenges of representation, including amongst judges of this court, and, for example, amongst barristers in speaking roles in the High Court. It is heartening to see, on the other hand, that the local court of New South Wales has almost achieved gender parity amongst magistrates, but we must not be complacent about these issues. There are other noticeable diversity concerns that we must face head-on. Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples and people from diverse cultural backgrounds continue to be alarmingly underrepresented in the legal profession, and particularly within the judiciary and the ranks of senior counsel. We must also be alert to barriers to the profession for people from less privileged backgrounds. Law should not be a profession for the wealthy, and the idea that students may be dissuaded from studying law by the cost of a law degree, which has again increased this year, or because of other systemic issues, is troubling. Not just this, but we'll only achieve a truly diverse profession when barriers to advancement are broken down and people from different backgrounds are properly supported in a collegiate and inclusive environment free from harassment and discrimination. These issues are fundamental to a just and transparent legal system and to the legitimacy of the rule of law. We need diverse representation amongst advocates and judges so that all people who become involved in our justice system can be properly heard and fairly engaged with by a system reflective of our broader community. Despite these challenges, there is real scope for change. There is far greater diversity of background amongst junior lawyers than those who've been around for as long as me. You only have to look at your fellow admittees here today and then at the paintings on the wall to see that this is so. You are in a unique position as new lawyers who are entering the profession at a time when more than ever your words and actions are having an impact for good. You are being heard and taken seriously when you agitate to correct injustices, whether it be speaking out against unsustainable working cultures, sexual harassment or bullying within the profession, unfair laws or systemic failures affecting our society's most vulnerable. I urge you to continue to speak out for these things. They do matter. You are the future of the profession and will steer the direction it will take. As a lawyer, you will also need to make difficult ethical decisions at times. With regard to our personal characteristics, lawyers have been the butt of jokes for centuries. Some would say, of course, there are only a few lawyer jokes, the rest are true stories. But jokes aside, you must use the tools you have developed to think critically and not compromise on your fundamental duties to the court and the administration of justice and other ethical duties you must uphold. Now that you're lawyers, you can get paid to argue instead of just arguing for free. Of course, there is a lot more to it than that. You're an advisor, a problem solver, a mediator, and an advocate for the marginalised. As you go about your day-to-day work, remember that you're not merely dealing with the law in a vacuum as a series of abstract concepts, but law as it applies to people's lives. For this reason, you must strive to deliver legal services competently and fearlessly, with courtesy and integrity. Justice Gageler, before he was a High Court judge, once said, "You must be prepared to give the same answer to the same questions, no matter who asked the question, for the same reasons, no matter who asked the questions, or for what purpose or in what context the asking may occur." This is foundational to upholding the rule of law. For those of you who will practice law, the way you communicate information to others will have profound consequences. One of your roles as a lawyer will be to make law accessible to others, sometimes by deciphering legal complexities, other times by deciphering poor legal drafting, and sometimes both. One thing you will regrettably strike throughout your career is legislation which seems carefully crafted with the object of ensuring that absolutely no one can understand it. Your task is not just to understand it, but to explain it clearly to those whose rights and interests are affected by it. As lawyers, we must not keep the law locked up as something knowable only to us. A client reading your advice should be empowered to understand your meaning, not mystified and confused. So be clear and concise in your writing and your speaking. Plain English is powerful. Consider, do I really need to say aforementioned or herewith? Must I sprinkle in that Latin phrase? Should I really use double negatives, tautologies, and wordy clauses that take up a whole page? The answer to those questions is self-evidently no. The best advocates make their points simply and succinctly. Now, some of the most experienced lawyers and judges could probably use that reminder, but don't pick up their bad habits. I also want to speak about failure. I would not be surprised if there are quite a few overachievers and perfectionists in the room today. Even so, at various points of your career, you will make mistakes, some minor, some more serious. When you do make mistakes, your commitment to honesty, integrity and the administration of justice means that you must take responsibility, correct what you can and learn from those errors. You must fail at times in order to grow. What is important is that you try not to make the same mistake twice. I myself have made many mistakes, over the years too many to remember. Even as Chief Justice, my decisions have on occasions been successfully appealed to the High Court. When that happens, I'm obliged to remind myself through gritted teeth that the fact that the High Court is infallible isn't a fiction, but in fact, at times, even dissenting High Court judgments later become the law. Finally, I want to emphasise that your mental health is extremely important. Now, this may sound unexpected at this type of ceremony, but the law is not everything. There may be times when you feel overwhelmed, burnt out or distressed. If you do, you should not be afraid to seek professional help or take a step back when you need to. Also remember that the law is a collegiate profession and in times of difficulty, the support of your peers will prove invaluable. I relied on that collegiality throughout my years of practice. Although you might find it hard to believe, I was admitted quite a long time ago. I lost my first case and I lost many more after that. But throughout my 35 years in practice, I could always count on the other barristers on my chambers to share my disappointment at the unfairness of the verdict, the sly tactics of opposing counsel, and most often, I regret to say, the obtuseness of the judge or judges before whom I was appearing. Now, I hasten to add I don't include either of my fellow judges on the bench in that comment. On behalf of all the judges of the Supreme Court, particularly those sitting with me today, can I once again congratulate you on your admission and welcome you to the legal profession. The Court will now adjourn.